early this evening. Hope everybody is having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So basically, what's to chat about? Well, not really a whole lot. Mopar doesn't seem to be giving us a whole lot to chat about. Matter of fact, about the only thing worth talking about with Mopar is really more to do with Stellantis and their CEO admitting that narcissism or arrogance or having your head up your ass is the reason why whatever problems the United States market is having. He was calling out marketing and a few other things. Well, cheers, Mr. CEO. I'm hoping that apology lands for you, but I'm pretty sure that 30-something million dollar bonus check that you got, I think that'll keep you plenty warm at night. So, world's smallest violin sport. But at any rate, talking about Mopar right now, man, it's kind of like talking about that uncle that you have. You know the uncle that you have where he's like formerly like this stud, right? But never really too high on the intelligence quotient scale. But a stud nonetheless, a little bit overweight. But now you're talking about the guy as he exists today, not how he was, where the glory days have faded. Those times have come and gone. As a matter of fact, he's looking at a whole lot more years behind him than he is ahead of him. And in this case, it's not like you're remembering the good times. It's like the roids have worn off, and now you're just left with, well, Bob. In death, he has a name. It's Robert Paulson. Well, now you're dealing with Robert Paulson, the motor company. And that's the problem that I'm seeing with this, is that as I look at the landscape of Mopar, and for performance cars, I don't know, for the next 5 years or so, what we're faced with is a little bit of, well, a dilemma, if you will. We're coming into what I would consider to be 1990 all over again, where you've got the Mustang, but we won't really have a Camaro, nothing from Mopar or Stellantis to talk about. And if we do have anything to talk about, will it even be worth talking about long term? And are EVs really the future? Is this something that we should at least remotely be excited about? Talking about these offerings that are supposed to be coming from Stellantis, keeping in mind that at the end of the day, Stellantis is not an American company building cars for American people. This is a global company building cars for a global market. And let me also remind you guys of something. If you're watching this show at any point in history, be it some being filmed or, summer of 21, if you're watching this, then chances are you're part of the 1% of the people that are in the automotive sphere, like in the general public, that are buying a car, like that are in the market. You're 1%. The people that can even turn a wrench are about 20% of that 1%. You're a car guy, you're a car gal, but you're not normal, right? You're like this very small percent of the population that knows and gets automobiles. Most people don't, and they buy cars for convenience and doodads, doohickeys, and whatever else comes in the car. They're not buying it for the subtle nuances of the driving experience or the rush of the power or anything else like that. These are the 10 and 2 people that just really go from point A to point B and hope they make it there in one piece. These are not people that try to excel at a driving skill set. These aren't people that go to SCCA events to learn how to drive their cars better. These are just people. And then there's that. That's it. That's all they are. They're just normies, and that's who Stellantis has to build cars for. So building vehicles for a niche market like the United States, number one. Number two, performance car. Number three, pretty specific performance car for the United States in terms of muscle car, pony car, stuff like that. Yeah, probably not on the top of their list of things to devote valuable resources to. I mean, go figure, right? I mean, these are businesses after all. They are publicly traded, and to be a responsible publicly traded CEO, that chief executive officer has got to make decisions that makes their shareholders money, not their niche market customers happy. So lucky that we're even getting this, whatever it is that's going to be coming from Dodge, whether you want to call it a Charger or maybe it's the Banshee and the electric venue, if you will. Luckily that we're even getting that. Matter of fact, the thing that bothers me the most, though, about that car is that, number one, we're not hearing anything about it. Number two, and this is using, I forget the guy's name because who can remember stuff like this anyway, but Stellantis CEO guy saying, well, marketing had screwed up. Well, I've been complaining about marketing out of Dodge for what, 5 years now? So I guess, duh. But anyway, yeah, marketing kind of sucks, bruh. I mean, get with the program. But more to that point, when you're looking at what cars are coming, the Charger is just, it looks like it is being put together by the sophomore team. Like, it's not even JV. It's like, okay, we're going to come up with a concept or an idea, and you don't really, and let's say you're not given enough resources, talent, design time, whatever the case is. It's like, we got to put something in production. It's got to be cheap to produce, and it looks like that. Sorry, it's got to be cheap to produce, and we've got to use existing architecture in terms of powertrain. Okay. Well, the inline six falls in line with the powertrain thing. The cheap to produce thing falls in lockstep with not having any money in design, but it doesn't really matter. If you look at the Charger, the way that it has been presented to us so far in those really crappy leaked spy shots, it looks like it's cheap to produce, boys and girls. I'm telling you, because it's got to be cheap to produce. From the looks of it, it is as bland looking of an automobile is that I think you could put out for public consumption. Why is that? Does it cost more to make a car look good? Like, does it cost more to make something look desirable? Does it cost more to make something, what's the right word for it? Have it look American-ish. You know what I mean? American cars, say what you will, have always had a certain style about them. Love it or leave it, it's always been a little bit over the top, or if nothing else, it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's American looking, and that's not what the Charger does for me. The Charger looks like something that is being put together, thrown together, cheap to produce. You can see this. You can see the gaps, the build gaps, like the door gaps and stuff. You can see that in the videos, or rather in the images. And I don't know what kind of camera that they were using, but it's not like they were trying to get some high def type of a look on those vehicles. It looks like it's cheap. The door gaps are huge. The panels are just they're tall and flat with no curve, no indentation, no nothing. There's nothing to style it out. And not even that you need it. Slabby and plain can actually look really cool. Look at the Polara. Look at the older Belvederes. Look at the original Chargers. Yeah, it was a fastback, but talking about like the 66, right? 67. Those were cool looking cars. Lincoln Continental, slab-sided stuff can be cool when it's done right. Mark III Lincoln is another one. It doesn't have to be a 65 T-Bird. It can be something like the other cars. But this one isn't that. The gap between the front tire and the fender, it looks like that car has a lift kit on it. Guys, I don't know that I can explain how turned off a lot of folks are already with Dodge. I read your comments. I hear what you guys are saying in some of the other videos, and it's hysterical to me that so many people are pissed that it doesn't have a V8. They're mad that they're coming out with some electric car. They're upset about the potential cost of these things and all this other stuff. But nobody ever mentions the fact that the car is so unfinished. It's so, like, it looks like the car that you would put together and then you would take, you'd be okay, we got the car together. Okay, let me get my Sharpie. All right. And okay, so this is your basic rectangle. Okay, so we want to shape it a little bit down like that. All right, yeah, let's go. Okay, put a door like right here. Okay, we're gonna do that Coke bottle thing just like that. Give it a little dovetail, wrap it back around. Yeah, that's looking good. We're gonna give it a little bit of a chin off here. We're gonna come back. We're gonna crop it. We're gonna do the 30% rule on the fenders. That's gonna be freaking sweet. Give it a body kit for the GT. Okay, I literally did that, looking into that. That looks better than what's coming out, okay? Seriously. It looks like what you would pin in what you want the thing to look like. You get it the right size, you get a generic shape, and then you go in and you stylize. Okay, we're gonna bring this down about an inch, we're gonna bring this over, bring out the rear haunch a little bit. We're gonna make this thing look tight, deepen up the rear wheel well. Okay, now we're looking sharp. Now we're looking like we can do something with this. Except they're taking that car and they're sending it out for public consumption. And I'm sorry, guys, it seems like I've made a career with this live show of being nothing but tough love for Mopar and Stellantis, Dodge, all of it. It's probably why I don't get any, I don't get the same love that other channels do from giving that company a tongue bath. I'm basically speaking the realities of the market, and I'm saying the things that other people are screaming at me that don't have a voice and don't have a channel to yammer on about. Not saying that I'm influencing anybody. Clearly I'm not. Certainly not helping my own cause in doing this. But I think that there's a certain level of integrity that you have to carry with you, and here we are. So tough love it will be. And this is the problem that I keep having with this company, is that the more you dive into it and the more that you look at what they are looking to regurgitate into the market, what in the hell are we supposed to expect? I mean, look, I've had to go from Mopar Chat Live to Motor Chat. And the reason why I've just started calling it Motor Chat is a couple of reasons. One, it includes motorcycles, which is a massive passion of mine. But Mopar Chat, really? It hasn't really gone anywhere. And there's no reason for me to, only speak on Mopar stuff if Mopar isn't going to speak on Mopar stuff. See what I'm getting at? Like, I can talk all day long about what combinations work on the Hemi and best practices when you're putting a tune together. I can walk you guys through how to tune for a cam, how to do all of that. And it still would not get anywhere near the draw that other shows have gotten, because people want confirmation bias confirmed. So I'll be the guy that tells you, keep hoping and keep dreaming, because you're going to get your ass stomped on the street with some of these new cars if they don't come to the party prepared. And here's the other thing. And this is the thing that sucks the most. I did a video about what you can expect to get out of the standard output Hurricane Inline 6. And the funny thing is that I had nobody to argue with me. I had nobody to argue with on this. There are a lot of folks that are looking at the prospect of that standard output, and because of already that engine having issues, my understanding is it's with oil pressure and maybe a bad casting with crankshafts or something like that. Those are things that can kind of be sorted out. But I can tell you this, guys, that engine, Okay, so let me try to set it up another way. The standard output engine is 420 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, but it's using 24 pounds of boost to get to that number. 24 pounds of boost. Okay, so let's roll this back a little bit, and I've said this 100 times, I'll say it 101. Why is that engine not E85 compatible? Why can't it be a flex fuel thing? Is there a reason why? Is there a reason why? Why that engine cannot be E85 compatible? Even more so for the high output. Don't get me wrong. I ain't even talking about the HO variant yet. Why is it that that engine can't receive the same kind of technology that the Demon 170 got? The Camaro, Chevrolet has a sensed E85 system. Ford has what's known as an inferred E85 system. Why can't Dodge do the same for two engines that need E85 more desperately than any other engine that they have ever made in their entire worldly existence? Why is that? I am flabbergasted when I see what could be from Mopar and from Dodge and from Stellantis and what won't happen. It's embarrassing. Like, you can't set this up any easier, guys. But yet we don't ever get, I feel like, what we deserve, which is a full effort by Stellantis to give us an engine and a power plant that will actually work in the real world. I'm afraid that it just isn't there. I'm afraid that that whole just want-to-itiveness is not there with Stellantis. But there's a fundamental disconnect. If you've seen, let me think about this. If you've seen the torture test that they gave the Hurricane 6-cylinder, it was supposed to, it goes through the whole hell of whatever it is. If you've seen the video, though, of the engineer that's talking about that, you get the sense that there was maybe a time where they could have done better or they could have done more. The guy goes, well, it was designed as a boosted engine. It wasn't like a 2JZ, which was naturally aspirated, but it can handle boost, or it's not like an LS that can handle boost, but it started off life naturally aspirated. It was never turboed from the factory. You almost get the sense that the guy's holding back something. And I think the reality is that he knows that, okay, so when that it needs E85 and it has to run on premium. When I did the video about that thing needing premium, well, sorta, the reality is that my F-150 says the exact same thing in the owner's manual. But here's the problem. My F-150 makes more than 400 horsepower on 93 octane. My F-150 on corn actually is about 10% more powerful if you believe the numbers, at least from what some have reported on dynos, but more to the point, just how the thing runs in general. I mean, that truck is 2 to 3 tenths of a second quicker to 60 on E85. Okay, it's not rated on E85. That truck, my understanding, is rated on 87. That standard output is rated at 91 octane. It will run on 87, but it's rated at either 89 or 91. Probably 91, because that's what it says in the owner's manual. I guess the point that I'm making here is, or at least that's what it seemed like when I drove them, because my Coyote, far more powerful than the standard output truck that I drove. And when I confirmed with the sales guy that it was the cheap 87 octane that they were putting in the truck, I kind of scolded him a little bit. I said, dude, you are making a huge mistake. That cannot be your buyer's first impression of that engine. I said, this is the same sales guy that I bought my 2022 Ram from. And I said, this cannot be these folks' first impression of that vehicle, because that was bad. Like, that was not good. It was not, I did not have a good experience, where I know some of you have. Some of you have had amazing experiences with that engine. Fantastic. But the problem is that if you did, it was on 89 or 91 plus, and it was on either mid-grade or premium fuel. You didn't drive it on 87 octane if you had a great experience with that truck, and you certainly didn't drive it back to back with a Hemi powered truck on 89 or 93 octane. I can assure you of that, because you'd have come away with the exact same. You guys, listen, I'm not made. I don't. If the truck would have performed like the HO variant did in the Wagoneer, which weighed 1,000 pounds more than that truck, guys, the Wagoneer that I drove, 6,500 pounds, freaking HO Hurricane engine. That 6,500 pound Luxo barge would smoke that truck that I drove. It would not have been close. And I can say that because that Wagoneer that I drove would have given my F-150 all it could handle. It might not beat it out the back door in the quarter mile, but it would certainly give it hell through the mid-range and mid-track. I can promise you that. I'll even take it a step further. If I were to beat that thing with the F-150, which I think I'd cover it in mile an hour, I would have to chase it all the way down the quarter mile before I could get around it. The truck that I drove with the standard output, it wouldn't be able to read my license plate after about 7 seconds of that pass taking place. All right? I'm not kidding. That was a third of a second faster to 60 running away on the back end. Okay? And that was, both vehicles were heat soaked. The F-150 I know is heat soaked because my 0 to 60 was slow in that pass. Something I didn't mention. A 6-second 0 to 60 out of my F-150 means it is completely freaking heat soaked. It's normally in those conditions 5.7. So take that for what it's worth. And that's in the heat, guys. All right, you get these things in cooler weather. Both of them make more power, but that F-150, I mean, for real, son, that thing rolls on the big end. But that, even the Ram with the Hemi would have gotten out badly on that standard output, and the standard output would have to chase down that Hemi to get around it. It's not a good look, man. Not a good look at all. So, anyway, that's what you have to look forward to in the Charger, though. Just don't run anything other than premium in that vehicle unless you're going on a road trip and you're setting the cruise control at 75 and you're just going to cruise for like hours on end. Then yeah, throw some 87 in, save you a whopping, $8 to get from here to there. Okay, cool. $8 is $8, man. That's a burger, right? So, you'll save about lunch money if you're going on a real long trip with that thing to put 87 in it, but that's it, man. You are not going to be rewarded with any modicum of performance out of that thing. And the rush of acceleration that you do get out of it is because, it starts off with such low power. And I even spooled it up to about 1,200 RPM and drilled it. Actually, it was higher than that. It's probably closer to 1,400, and drilled it when I ran that 0 to 60 pass that I did. Anyway, that's 24 minutes worth of me yammering on over here. Let me check in with you guys. Rome is in first. What's up, man? Ha is in, checking in from the West Coast. I like it. I'm saying I know enough to not break much, talking about working on it. Skids! I got the bald guy with the shades and the flex. I like it. What'd you miss? Not much yet. Itch is in. Good day, sir. Mostly old parts and rust, so I'll never buy another Stellantis vehicle. I'm not interested in a 6. Don't care how much horsepower it makes. I'm old school. I want a V8. And here's the sad thing about that, Mopar. I'll tell you this. If I know. If my aunt had a package, she'd be my uncle, and I can get all that. But if we could have gotten that proposed 5.2 or 5.5 liter V8 that was being floated around out there back in 2017, if we could have gotten that, it was the 4-cam. Basically, it would have just been like Mopar's Coyote engine is all that thing was going to amount to be. We might not even be having this conversation, but again, I understand that you might not like the 6. I don't necessarily like the 6, not because it's a 6-cylinder, but because it's a 6-cylinder that relies on, in the case of the HO, 2 full atmospheres, 2 ATM, 2 bar, 29 pounds of boost to make the power that it makes. I'm going to let that sink in for just a minute. 29 pounds of boost. In the racing world, the cars that are making 29 pounds of boost, they get their oil changed after about, I don't know, 5 or 8 wide open throttle hits. Because that's a shitload of boost. You're stacking a ton of cylinder pressure on those rings. Stuff is going to get past it. Blow by is going to happen. What do you want me to tell you? I'm impressed by the amount of power that it makes, but I mean, the fact that it doesn't have a vacuum pump on it. I mean, it's just, I'm looking at this and I'm going, how? And this is, remember, HO's got forged pistons, boys. This ain't foreign territory. This is real talk right up in here. I understand the whole thing about the plasma-coated cylinder bores. Don't care. Don't care, boys, because the ring pack is the ring pack. It's reality. So for guys that are saying, oh, we're having oil pump problems, or oh, we're having oil pressure problems. Yeah. If that engine spends a whole lot of time at power and rich, which is to say heavy tip-in throttle or wide open throttle, you mean to tell me you're not possibly going to have an issue with blow-by? Oh, shoot. And it doesn't have a dipstick. Can't check the oil. Can't check the oil. Okay, so when I say you can't check the oil, that's not only to mean that you can't, how much oil is in this thing? Oh, Frank, it's right up to the mark. Hey, it's great. No, you can't check the oil. You can't look at it and see, okay, look, does it pass the sniff test? Thing smells kind of like gasoline. We get a little bit of blow-by. Oh, kind of a little bit milky, not looking good. Might have a busted head gasket in here. What's up? You can't check the oil. You can't check the level, but you also can't check the quality of the oil. Now, granted, who the hell would do that, right? Only nerds like me. But the technician can't do it either. I wheel that car in because it's got problems. They got to put the thing on a lift to check the oil. I don't know, man. I'm having some, I mean, you could use the extractor method. I understand all that, but it's stupid. I don't even know how you do it on that engine, though, because the drain back isn't right underneath the filler. I don't know. Let me check it with you guys. Oh, John's looking at an LQ4 for a K2500. Good way to go. How much will the Charger weigh with the Hurricane option? It's my understanding it's going to be somewhere around 4,200 pounds. It's not much different than what the outgoing RT is. They don't have official weights yet, but it's my understanding it's between 4 and 4,200, depending on how it's so equipped, because there's a 2-door and a 4-door. It's just asking, what brand of catch can do you recommend for a Scat Pack and a Hellcat? I was going to get one for me and the old man, late Father's Day gift. Well, I don't recommend catch cans. Let me explain to you why. Keep in mind, I'm the guy that ported the manifolds, right? So I'm the guy that would port the manifolds that would go on to 5.7, 6.4s over and over and over again. I've done a bunch of them. Here's the thing, whether you have or have not a catch can, over time you're still going to get oil through the system and into the intake manifold. Every intake manifold I've ever ported had some amount of contamination, some more, some less. The ones that had more were typically the ones that were the least maintained, least well maintained. But let me tell you, catch cans are a bit of a red herring because they're not always catching oil, they're catching condensation. And the condensation would just go through the engine anyway. It's not a big deal. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. My Buffy, sitting right over there, Buffalicious, my 2017 Ram 1500 with the Hemi, has 200,000 miles on the clock. It doesn't have a catch can, and that truck gets driven, all right? That truck is probably the best running classic 1500, even with 200,000 miles on it, that I've ever driven. I did not have catch cans on my Hellcat. When you would look in the throttle body, and whenever I'd have the throttle body off, I even did a video showing the throat of that supercharger. There's nothing getting through there. What happens with catch cans is there's kind of a weird thing that happens with guys with catch cans. Number one, you'll put it on the car and it collects something and you think you've kept it from going into the intake manifold. But what you're not understanding is that for every drop that you caught, there's 100 that have gotten through there anyway. So you're not really catching what you think that you're catching. And this is all basically condensation. When it comes to oil vapors and things like that, it's nothing. There's nothing to it. You're not keeping the inside of that intake manifold clean, so to speak, and you're not doing much to help cool it off either by not bringing that in. I've done the testing on that. If it helps, it's by a fractional amount. So then what? Well, the big problem with catch cans is that guys forget to empty them. So let's pretend like this Coke bottle is your catch can and you've got about that much oil in it. Fairly significant amount. You haven't really been thinking about cleaning it out. Your intake hose comes in, your exit hose goes out. It's basically just it's a catch can. It's literally just that. But the problem is at some point this fluid will get high enough to where the airflow going through your catch can will start to siphon out whatever's in your catch can, and then it starts feeding it into the engine. And it'll feed it through there at a fairly significant rate. So I've seen this happen before. I've seen cars show up to the dyno, and one of the things that I'll say is, look, make sure that you empty your catch cans before you bring your cars to the dyno. Don't forget that that's a maintenance item now. And if you've never seen what happens when cars start to siphon fluid out of a catch can, it's pretty gross because it'll start to siphon out the condensation, but but the condensation never really goes away because it goes into the catch can, and now it's basically this oily, watery goop shit because you've got blow-by that's in there because every engine has some small amount of blow-by. You've got some oil vapor that's in there, and it's just this concoction, and it's gross, and that ends up coating everything in the intake manifold. So everything that you thought you were doing to try to keep something from happening has now made it just 10 times worse. It is disgusting. I even rejected one manifold because of that. And then proceeded to, they go, oh no, can you please, man, can you please? And I charged them a $50 cleanup fee. And I took that manifold, it's on a 5.7 car manifold. So no inner workings, stripped it and took it to a car wash and just hosed the thing out. It was absolutely gross. And I knew right away, I said, this car's got a catch can on it. Yeah, it's got a catch can. I was like, yeah, it's full. Empty it. This is the grossest thing I've ever seen. So, I mean, it was like Creature from the Black Lagoon type shit. It was bad. So, anyway, if you're going to get one, any of them are good. If you decide you want one just kind of for the bling, just please, for the love of all that's holy, don't forget to drain them. Yeah, how often should you drain them? I don't know. Once every 1,000 miles, at least, just to make sure that they stay as empty as possible. Hopefully, I didn't wear that out. John saying, I don't hate any performance capable engine. I get you on that. Shane saying, I think the Charger needs more aerodynamic cues on the side near the doors. I think it needs something. It needs some kind of action. Oh, John's saying, with a 300, getting out on Mustangs and Camaros. Yeah, you got to be able to put the thing down, put the power down. The Elvis Edition T120. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard about it, though. John's saying GM's had E85 since mid-2000s. Yeah. My 09 F-150 was E85 compatible. Flex Fuel. Donald is in. What's up, man? Hope you're doing good. Dan is in. What's up, Dan? Carzilla saying, I have my Hellcat still, but I love driving my new Bronco with the Sasquatch package 2-door. That's a fun ride. You'll wait. Hey, listen, Carzilla, what you're going to find is that Sasquatch, when you go squatching, that car is going to become more endearing than your Hellcat. Mark my word on that. Hey, I mean, you are following the very normal progression of Hellcat and then go to 4-wheel drive vehicle. A lot of guys do that. And then they look at the Hellcat and they go, I can't have fun with this thing anymore. It's only fun when you're really, really in it to win it. Sometimes that's not really that's not good for your driving record. And I'm one to talk. I need to kind of chill things out a little bit. Mostly saying exactly, try pulling an enclosed trailer at 7,000 pounds with that in a 6,500 pound 4x4. My Ram will do that forever. My Ram towed really nicely. I like the way that thing towed. I don't like the classics for hauling material, but the DTs on the other hand are really good in that respect. They made some changes to the geometry back there, I guess. Dan saying that's actually insane too. Thank you. Thank you for that perspective on PSI. I actually didn't put too much into that. That's actually insane. Oh yeah, 29 pounds of boost. Yeah, it's stupid. The standard output's at 24. It's absolutely crazy. Eric is in. What's up, man? Hope you're doing good. Always good to see Eric checking in. Oh, mostly saying, yeah, number one reason wouldn't have the 6, only a sensor for the oil level. And for me, again, it's not just the level, it's you can't see what's going on with the oil. That's a bummer. It's good saying, so the local Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealers got a limited Ram 1500 HOI 6 for a mere 79,000. Yeah, pocket change. Jeez Louise, that's expensive. Mostly saying I check my oil 3 times a week. I must be weird. Ain't nothing weird about that. I'm staying on top of your stuff. That reminds me, I got to do an oil change on Buffy tomorrow. Hard Rock is in. Good evening, sir. Eric saying Dodge/Stellantis are more major problems with the new twin turbo Hurricane 6. Blown up and the crankshaft snapping in half and now cracked cylinders. Oh no, cracked cylinders now? Dude, that's no bueno. Eric's checking in with skids. I like it. Hard Rock saying catch can is a gimmick. Man, it's not. Oh crap! I don't want it to go like the wrong way. It's not necessarily a gimmick, but I will say it is a lot more red herring than it is real deal. And again, it now requires you to. It requires a new level of maintenance and attention that I don't think is becoming of somebody with one of the newer automobiles. For older cars, yeah, they're kind of needed. And if you've got a, like some of the older Chevys really could have used one. They had a weird, funky PCV thing. Matter of fact, I used to use oh hell, what was it? 5.3 liter PCV valves with the tiny orifice. And instead of a catch can, I used the small orifice PCVs. And I used those instead of I put them in line. I'm sorry, I put those in line and I gutted them. I took the weight out of them, a little weighted check valve. I took those out of them and used that tiny orifice in line. It still would give it, you're still evacuating the crankcase because it still has a vacuum signal. It was just a much reduced vacuum signal so that because the Hemis have, and the LS stuff has this unbelievable draw going through that crankcase too, which was another argument for a catch can. It's just there was so much air volume circulating through the crankcase. But the reality is that, yeah, there might have been, and I kid you not, if you look in my videos, there's one that's like 5 years ago that I did. This bottle cap is how much came out of my catch can, which I still have floating around here, that I took off of my 2014. It was a very small amount of fluid that I had coming out of the thing, and that was after I started using that other check valve. Matter of fact, that part number is in that video, if you want to try to dig that one out of the archives. Oh, Hard Rock saying, looked at his snout, no residue. Yeah, probably not a lot. Well, old school, I mean, it's not even that. I mean, you know, what it is it's they've really lost their way. And the problem is that it can be done really, really well with the inline six. But what they're doing is not doing it well. What they're doing is they're doing it very poorly. And you know, that's the thing that bothers me the most. It could have been done. Ed's asking, best F-150 mod for NA, transmission tuning. Tune it. Get a tune. Get the transmission tune. I've got the AEM intake. Super bueno. Love it. The zip tie mod for the flap for the there, you can either remove the whole, there's like that little cover. You can just take the whole cover off if you want, but I've got mine zip tied so that it doesn't blow up. Those would be the three things that I would do. The zip tie mod, just look up F-150 zip tie mod. It'll show it right away. The intake that I got, which I would wholeheartly recommend, the AEM, but the tune. I'm not kidding when I tell you that the tune makes all the difference. I only, in my tune, for wide open throttle application, I only have trans tuning. That's it. They're in max power table, in other words, which is on the MBT table, where it's not on your baseline, it's MBT only, and that's the table, if my understanding is correct from looking at the data, that's the table that it's referencing. And that it uses modifiers to subtract timing from it. I have nothing done in that table at all, bone stock. And my truck consistently in the heat, as long as I monitor my intake temps, it'll run 1380s. I'll get tired of it running 1380s in 90 plus degree heat on 93 octane. And that's with no timing, no fueling, screwing around with that. That is transmission tuning and some torque modifiers. And that's it. Torque management modifiers. That's it. That truck is functionally, from a performance standpoint, about as stock as you can realistically get. So those would be my three that I would do. Oh, and if you keep your stock air box, which there's nothing wrong with that because it's actually not bad, put a K&N filter in it. Oh, Skid saying my 75. Skid saying my Ram 2025 pickup is still down. Wait for an engine replacement because his twin turbo Hurricane 6 engine blew up and it's not been a month, so he's not happy. I can only imagine. And just saying thank you very much. Well, I'm saying put the scallops back on the doors. Give it some kind of personality, man. Yeah. Skid saying Fred is crazy. These twin turbo 6s blowing up. That's insane. Carzilla's in. What's up, man? Skid saying I was not pleased with Dodge going away from the V8. All I can say is they did this to themselves, or stepdaddy Stellantis did. Well, it's 100% Stellantis, no doubt about that. Yeah, and they just keep having problems. That's not good. Skids, I'd be pissed. Bingo on that. Dan saying, hello, love the channel. Thank you, Daniel, for the kind words. Do you think upgrading to a Hellcat is a bad move coming from a Scat Pack? All depends on what you want. I have owned both. I've spent a lot of time with all naturally aspirated variants of the car, supercharged versions of the naturally aspirated variants of the Hemi platform, and the Hellcat variants. I was the first guy to run a 9-second quarter-mile time in a Demon at Houston Raceway Park when it was still around. And I held the record up until just this year when Jim Mopar beat my record. Congratulations, my brother from up north, the great north in Canada, for stock boost 93 octane Hellcat. So I've got all kinds of experience with all of these cars. And I will tell you this, the Hellcat is a freaking awesome car. Get you a Hellcat, modify it. Don't mess with it. Enjoy the car for what it is. Don't put pulleys on it. If you want a K&N air filter, if that is what is going to keep you engaged with that vehicle. But that's it. Do not mess with that car. It is really good as it comes from the factory. The minute you start fooling with it, that car is going to become less and less appealing. It's a whole lot of fun in short bursts, but just remember that, it will get you to 135, 140 miles an hour faster than you may realize, and it won't feel significantly faster than your Scat Pack unless you are significantly in the throttle. In other words, you've got to be above 5 or 6 pounds of boost for it to feel stronger than your Scat Pack, because it's making less power than your Scat Pack until it gets to that pound of boost. Now, that being said, it's instant because it's a roots blower. But is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it, provided that you can afford it. And then if you can't afford it, get the Hellcat, enjoy it. Get with Destroyer 1320, have your transmission lock. Go ahead and install that. That's easy. You can do that at home. Get to your dealership, have them brick your RFID module, which is a service they can provide for you, and that will be some security measures that'll keep that car from getting lifted. But outside of that, again, is it worth it? Yeah, it is. But damn, I love me some Scat Pack, dude. You can have fun with a Scat Pack on the street. Yeah, I can put those wheels and tires on a Scat Pack, have it dead hooked from, on the street, and in clean air. Once I get through tickling the ivories, depending on how much weight reduction I've got in it, I'll have a car that can safely run 1130s on the street and just have a very fun car in general. I wouldn't try to roll race it, but in general, it's got the kind of power to weight ratio to get you there. Where you will falter with the Hellcat is that you can't have that kind of fun with a Hellcat. And if it don't buy it. And if it's your daily, just don't do it. Because you're going to want to put drag radials on the Hellcat just so that it will perform decently. If it's a second car and you're driving it around and having like a weekend car, then yeah, get the Hellcat. If it's going to be a daily though, Hell no, I wouldn't daily a Hellcat. Not like that anyway. Um, it's there's nothing worse than being stuck in traffic with a car that makes 700 horsepower. Hard Rock said, I miss your racing footage. I miss racing. I mean, I really do. I would love to be able to get back into doing something. I just, there's not enough time in the day, so to speak. Oh, damn. Yeah, Eric's buddy with that 6-cylinder that blew up. That sucks. Dan's asking, did I enjoy my Scat Pack over owning the Hellcat? Well, I'll put it to you like this. I had an SRT, so it was the top of the line, the heaviest version of the Scat Pack variants. It was basically a Hellcat without a supercharger. Had the brakes, had all of that. Full weight in really good air, that car ran an 1120. No, I'm sorry, ran an 1130. That car's clone with some weight reduction ran an 1120. Do I miss it? Yeah, there's times where I do miss it. I miss having a car that I could use all of the power kind of all of the time. But even the Hellcat, I mean, I could put it in 500 horse mode and have my Scat Pack, I suppose, at that point. But in fact, I used to drive my Hellcat around a lot in 500 horse mode. Which just it limits it to 5 pounds of boost. I like them both for different reasons, but I will say this: I kind of wished that I would have picked up instead of, I love my SRT, don't get me wrong, but I kind of wish that I would have picked up like a Scat Pack Core, something that would have been lighter. I have a feeling that I would still have that car if I would have bought that car. I prefer the look of it, to be honest with you. It's good saying, hit the like button. Oh yeah, hit the like button. Hit the perform. Hit the like button and subscribe, please. Subscriptions, guys, this is the funny thing with the whole analytics. Subs make all the difference in the world. It's if you subscribe to the channel, I do truly appreciate it. I know some guys take subscriptions, subscribers for granted. I don't. I appreciate everybody that subs. So for you guys that have subbed to the channel, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. And for you guys that are considering, just do it. It's cool. It's all right. It's free. But I appreciate all you guys. Eric's saying, more people are now complaining that they better bring back the V8 engine. If they're having issues already with that 6, I bet they are. Stuart's hanging out with Daniel. If you plan on adding boost to a Scat, Hellcat's the smart move. No, and that's a good point, Stuart. So, listen, Daniel, if you're buying the car and you think you're ever going to want to put a blower on it, don't do it. Sell it, or if you've already got it, get rid of it now. Pick you up a Civic or something like that. An old pickup truck. Find you a Nissan. They run forever. You can't kill them, even with a shotgun. Ask me how I know. Drive it. And then save up every dime that you have and get the Hellcat, get the thing with boost. I can tell you from personal years of experience with these cars that if you take it to the drag strip often, you're going to cook the transmission in that car if you've got boost going through it. The transmission that comes in the Scatties is an HP 70. And truth be told, it's only really good to about 525, 550 pound-feet of torque to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno, which is to say an eddy current dyno. And that's being very specific, but I'm getting to a point. If you're running stock sized or, like if you want to run 275 45s on the back of the thing, cool. But I'm saying if you're running like like I said, a Falcon AZ8 FK10s or something like that, you'll still be okay. But if you're running slicks or something like that, you're going to cook that tranny, and that's not a good thing. You want to stick with street tires if you want to go that route, but then it's really, I mean, you're going to be at like 550 horsepower at the rear wheel at the most, and you're going to need to have a lot more than just, by the time you're done paying for the blower and everything else, you could have just bought the Hellcat. And the guys that have sunk a ton of money into Scat Pack variants to get to or past Hellcat power, you never see them at the track. It's super rare that you would. They'll say, I'll roll race you. Yeah, we built those combinations when I worked for Pikes. I'm the guy that put the camshaft together for those combinations, for crying out loud. So, yeah, I know more about this than I probably should. And I can still tell you that if it's my money getting spent, Scats are so good from the factory. Just leave them alone. Do the little minor things you want to them. Do not take the mid mufflers out, please, for the love of God. Don't do that. Maybe do a reso delete, but I wouldn't even do that. Do a full cat back if you're going to do anything, because reso deletes get kind of gross anyway. Just put a full-on MagnaFlow on it and let it ride. And I like the rear resonators to be deleted just because they kind of look bad. Or go like Corsa or something like that. But yeah, if you're thinking about boosting it, don't. Just go Hellcat. Oh, it's Skids. No, I think Eric's just had, maybe one of his friends has one. Yeah, Stewart's hanging out with Daniel. I would avoid a 2023 Dodge anything. So many issues of various models due to them rushing them out the door. All kinds of weird problems, from mechanical, electrical, and even body issues. Yeah. Oh, Brent said, I see 392s beat Hellcats all day long at the track. Yeah, my car's first kill was a Hellcat. Hard Rock said, I love my Hellraising Scat. The ZF8 speed is fast. Just got new front brakes and 4 tires. Very nice. So the Scat, what's funny is that it's rare for a Hellcat to be, you'll see Scats beat Hellcats when the person driving the Hellcat doesn't really know what they're doing, or street tire for street tire. Hellcat just spins. Guys don't know how to drive them on street tires, and you have to know what you're doing to drive them on street tires too. Car Wash is in. Hey, B, looking good, friend. Thank you. Inner chiller worth the upgrade on a Hellcat? No, stay away from it. I mean, I can tell you this. We had some success with Kincaid's Killer Chiller, the base model, not the all upgraded and everything else. Only in that it kept things somewhat consistent. But don't worry about it. Does it work? Sort of. But I never put one on mine. I never deemed it necessary. And if it did help, look, I was breaking records and Jim was breaking records. We were breaking each other's records without any Killer Chiller, Iller Chiller, or anything like that. So take that information as you will. Oh, Dan saying my RT doesn't even make near a Hellcat, but more than a stock Scat, and even I get annoyed driving it every day, even though I love my car to death, just because I can never floor it anymore. Yeah, you just can't play with it anymore. So you're saying, yeah, well, that's the thing. 392 doesn't have Hellcat power. I don't think anybody would ever argue that the 392 has Hellcat power. What I've always said about both cars is that you can have more fun with the Scat Pack on the street because you can use the power that you've got. And that being said, it was fun for me to snipe after Hellcats with Shalandra, which was my SRT. I'd show up with that car on drag radials and pick on Hellcats, especially if they're on street tires. And even if they're on drag radials, a lot of times the guys just didn't know how to drive them. And so the Scat Pack was a point and click apparatus, where the Hellcat, you've got to have some skill if you're not playing around with the thing on these types of wheel and tire setups that are sitting behind me. So it's not even a power question. It's just a matter of, these are entertainment dollars that we're spending, guys. These are not necessity dollars. For most of us, I hope. And it's just which car is more fun. I'll take this in another direction. So before my good buddy Ray passed away, he had that 1320, what was it? The Frostbite 1320. A car, by the way, which had I known things were going the direction that they were, I would have bought from him. Like, I'd have just cut him a check for that car if it helped the family out. Because I would love to have that car, because I'm not kidding. Like, I'd have eaten beanie weenies and ramens for a year just to do it, because I had more fun with him in that car. Keep it. Okay, so you have two national record holders in the same exact car. We're both trying to cut each other's heads off to run a number. Okay, pass after pass after pass after pass after pass. We're trying to run in as delivered form. We're trying to beat each other's number with both of us in the car. We're trying to run it better than a 1220. And again, this is on the street, 32 PSI, two dudes in the car, not super great air, and we're on the street because there was a music festival going on at the track that we didn't realize. So we both show up looking to go racing, and we can't. He just gets this car, now it's on. We're both hyper competitive, and we're both, he is the soon to be OG Demon national record holder. In fact, I helped him set the car up for this deal. I mean, that's super tight. We were close. And after about 2 hours of us on each other's ass, he finally clips me with a 12-1. I still don't know how he did it, but he did it, okay? And this is after 2 hours of us making hit after hit after hit, went and got something to eat, hit after hit after hit, went and got some bevies, hit after hit after hit, had to stop and chill for a minute, hit after hit, and finally, I mean, it was just all night we were getting after it with that 1320. We could not have done that with the Demon. We couldn't have done that with the Hellcat. It was all stuff that was just me and my buddy, and we're going after each other, going off the time slip that would pop up. It's one of the most fun times I've ever had in a car, and it was something that I'll never forget. So it's just something that I miss, and it's something that I wish that it's an experience that I wish that everybody could experience, because it's no longer a question of how fast is it. That car could have been a 13-second car. That car could have been a 9-second car. Either way, we were going to cut each other's head off over a tenth of a second. And it was on, baby. I mean, it was because it was 12-2. And this is all on the street, mind you, okay? Two dudes over 200 pounds in the car on 32 PSI Nexen drag radials. So, yeah, that's the fun part of it. So, it is what it is. You know, it's more about the fun aspect. So if I'm picking one, if I can get away with it, I'd go 1320. Car Wash, thank you very much. I appreciate that wealth of info in this man's head. Thank you, B. Hopefully I can answer your questions. That's the main thing. I'm just hoping my goal is to try to help folks out along the way. That's the main thing. Let's see. Oh, what happened here? Harder saying the 392 beats Hellcats with a good driver. Well, the Hellcat, you're not waiting on boost. It's instant. It's like right now. I mean, it's positive displacement supercharger. The problem is on the street, the Hellcat just can't hook up. And that's, you know, you can say what you want about track, but if you're on the track with a Hellcat with a drag pack like you should be, I mean, my car ran stock in weather. It would run 10. I think 1069 was the first pass it ever. No, I'm sorry, 10. It went 1089. Its very first pass, full weight on drag radials. Its very first ever pass, it went 1101 and it spun on the 1-2 shift. Hard Rock saying C170 seems to be creating a stigma with engines blowing up. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. I have a feeling that those engines are coming overfilled with oil and it's causing a windage issue that's causing that problem. It's good saying they have so much potential. Britt said, I've never been beat by a Hellcat on the street. The truck, yes, but not by much. Stock Hellcat, 11.7 to 12, 392, 12.2 to 12.4. Let's see, my experience on the street with Hellcats was pretty fun. Now, from a roll, no, you're not going to mess with a Hellcat with a 392 from a roll. But when I could bait one into a race, especially at lower speeds, it was just because the Hellcat wasn't on a tire. You put a picture like this, a stock Hellcat in decent air, on a track that's so-so is going to be at least a 1090 car. It's almost guaranteed to be a 10-second car if you've got fairly decent air. If not, in kind of crap air, or a little bit higher altitude, 11, what were we running with those things? 11.1, I think, was like an average for like a Charger. You know, on a decent tire, decent track with air, it would damn near run 10s. And the Challengers being a little bit lighter, sometimes they'd run a little bit quicker, but it wasn't really by enough to really worry about. You line two guys up in those cars, both tires being the same, and for the most part, it's a driver's race. The Challenger may get out a little bit on the Charger, but again, it's just whoever can cut the better light. But the table's tilted a little bit towards the Challenger just because of weight. But again, it's all about traction at that point. You know, drag strip's all about traction. Skid said, I'm just glad there are options out there if you want a V8. Yep. I have looked at the new Bronco as well. If they had slapped a 5.0 in it, definitely yes for me. A lot of people were talking about that truck, and there was like some kind of a foregone conclusion that it was going to get a V8, and I was looking at it going, I don't know that it would fit. Although it would make for a hell of a car though if they did that. Max saying it's a shame that Dodge was on fire during the 2010s. Just for them to be mismanaged into oblivion, it's a damn shame. Yeah, Dodge had some cool ass cars in the late 90s, early 2000s. You had the Viper truck, which was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun going up against Viper trucks with the Lightnings. It was Viper truck versus Lightning. The Lightnings would always get out on them, and the Viper trucks would gun them down. And maybe. They would always at least out mile an hour the Lightnings, given whatever it is that you've done with them, provided you're not talking about like a Navi swap Lightning or something like that, then all bets are completely off. God, I got to admit too, there was a part of me that wanted to do, if I could have figured out a way to do it and have it be clean, a Coyote swap Lightning and just build a Lightning clone with a 10R80 and a Lightning, or rather a 10R80, a Coyote with the Roush Whipple, making about 700 horsepower, but just build a Lightning clone, put Stifler's long bars on it, and set of probably 355 gears though instead of the 373s that the Lightnings come with. if I can make that work and make it work cleanly, that would be stupid sick. But anyway, that's just my love for the Lightnings. Pitch Black, thank you very much. Any recommendations for a tuner in Central Florida? Oh, damn. What's the name of it? Starts with a B. Shit. Racer X knows him. And I can't, I'm sorry, I am drawing a blank. Crap. What is the name of it? One of you guys help this man out and help me out. Help me remember the name of that shop. God dang it. God, that's the same shop that the guys were doing all the, oh crap. Let me think about, what is the damn name of it? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Damn it, I can't message him because I'm filming off of that phone. Shit. I do apologize, man. I can't remember the name of it. What kind of platform are you looking at? Oh, I'm guessing it's Pitch Black 392. I would say if remote tuning would be a possibility, give Peitz, Peitz, a shout. If you've got the HP tuners and a cable, that might help you. But if you don't want to invest in that, or if you don't have that, then you'll need somebody with a standalone capability. What? It's not Bailey's. Is it Bailey's? Well, Bailey's is in Dallas. Damn, I think I'm getting my dyslexia is kicking in. Now I'm swapping in one for another. Shit. The hell was the name of it? Is Chris? No, he's not out there. Man, I apologize. I can't think of the dang name of that place. Let's see. Sorry about that, but I appreciate the support. I really do. So you're saying 1321's 11 threes, and the Hellcat runs 1030s at the track. Very nice. It took so it was kind of funny. Y'all might have seen the last time Jim and I were going back and forth when Jim and I were going after the record. We started going at each other when our cars were both. He went 1041. I went 1038 and he went 1037. And again, that stock boost 93 octane. And that was hysterical because that's when we both got it on each other's radar. I think we locked in on each other at about that time. There was one dude that was going quicker than us, and he somehow or another pulled off a 1027. Was it a 27 or a 29? 27. Anyway, it was a high 1020. I want to say call it 1027. And then I was playing around more with my tune, getting shift points a little bit more fine-tuned. I ended up going 26 and 24. I covered the record at the 24, and then from there, Jim beat me. And then so that started the back and forth between us. And the rest is history. And he owns the record now up in Canada. He went 10:05 with a 3. I think he went 10:05 with a 3 to my 10:05 with an 8. So he owns it. So yeah, 1030 is screaming. But you got to remember, I'm at sea level and I'm able to take advantage of crazy deep air. And our boy Jim is up in Canada and he's able to take advantage of some crazy low dry air up there. Turntable saying, just got the Power Stop Extreme pads with the drilled and slotted rotors for my Scat. Got to find someone to install. It's not that hard to do if you've got the tools and you've got the time. If you don't, then yeah. But that's a good setup that you got. Those kids. They bought everything that uh let's see, Stellantis bought everything that was under oh shit, now this is escaping me. Just getting back in from being on the road for a full day. So oh shit, I'm losing my mind here. Anyway, yeah, Brent saying a stock Hellcat won't just run 1030. No, you gotta put some time into it. Stock boost on 93 octane, you definitely have to put work into the tuning. A lot of transmission tuning, lots of transmission tuning, over and over and over, and data logging over and over and over. FCA, freaking A, Fiat. I lost my brain there for a minute. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, you don't just run a number like that. And that's something else too. A lot of folks were accusing both of us of pulleys, running race gas. I mean, you name it, they're accusing us of something. And Jim and I are just like, look, man, you get a couple of guys that are just deeply wanting to, hold the number. So, but yeah, Jim has the, I guess, outright world record holder now for stock boost. Lime, thank you much. Man, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. Just thought I'd join in. Bro, thank you very much. I truly appreciate that. Thank you. Shoot, man. Thank you very, very much. Thanks to all of you guys. I appreciate anything and everything. Helps a ton. Literally keeps the lights on. Oh, Eric's hanging out with skids. Love the V8. Yeah. All right, so we need to stop comparing Scats and Hellcats and direct the competition towards Mustangs, GT 350 and 500. So I'll tell you, you guys know the story about my run-in with the dude in the GT 500, but if you're new to the channel and you don't, so this is going back about 2 years ago. Guy shows up to the track with a GT 500 on a rear drag pack setup. He didn't have the front drag pack on the car. And there was another dude there with a Z06 on a drag pack. And the Z06 was just barely breathed on. The guy did, he had a smaller pulley on it, but it was a 93 octane tune. And the guy wasn't there to try to set any records. It was just a fun car for him. And automatic car, very quick car. And on this night, I was running mid 1030s with mine. So the air wasn't great. It was just a fun night at the track, but what I would consider to be like a, burger and fries kind of night at the track. Not really trying to run a number, just hanging out with my friends and having fun. Well, as it turns out, the guy that was in the GT 500 had made some kind of a comment, and I was oblivious to this, but had made a comment within earshot of another buddy of mine that had a red eye that, oh yeah, I'd smoke that Hellcat. And I mean, I'm over there talking to people. I'm, just doing my thing. I'm talking to folks and just having a good time. So we were kind of catty corner in the staging lanes. And so he goes up and he tells the guy, unbeknownst to me, he tells the guy that's pulling cars up, hey, that red Hellcat, he's going to be running the that black Mustang. It's a black GT 500. Guy's like, you got it. And keep in mind, I was always the first guy there. I helped to direct traffic sometimes in the lanes, and so the guys knew me. They was like, yeah, we'll hold people back and we'll line you up. I said, okay, cool. So he's pulling cars forward and he starts pulling out of his lane. And so he's dragging these other cars up, and then he brings us both up. I'm in the left-hand lane. He's in the right-hand lane. And I went, oh, son of a bitch. So, I'm looking forward to this. Like, oh, cool, GT 500. I didn't find out about what the guy had said until afterwards because of this little stunt that he pulled. So, long story short, yellow, 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 drill it, green. I pull about a full car length on him, and proceed to basically smoke this GT500. Now, I'm saying that only to illustrate a point. I am out on this guy, and believe me when I tell you, the guy was an experienced racer. It's not like I treed the hell out of him, but I did tree him a little bit. I get out on him. He cannot get around on me. Matter of fact, I'm tiptoeing away from the guy. This dude, and if you have never raced at Houston Raceway Park, you had your first exit, which was typically taken by guys that would run eighth mile numbers. Like you could run eighth mile if you wanted to, just get out of it at half track, slow down, and then pull off, and you're good. The guys that were eighth mile guys did that. They weren't pulling laundry, which would mean parachutes or nothing like that. Just, whatever. So you could do that, or it's a breakdown lane. Either way, you had a first exit. The second exit was for, guys that were running like 13 or 14 second cars would typically take the second exit because it's far enough down to where you can brake safely and, thumbs up, buddy, woo, fun deal. And then you pull off and then you go back and get in line or get a beer or whatever. And then you had the very last turnoff. All of these are to the right. So Mopar, peace out, check out, bonsai. And I beat him. And I've never seen another car do this. This guy went from, I think he probably tracked around 132, 133, stands on the brakes at the end of the run, because he was kind of on my fender back over here, stands on the brakes and exits the first exit. I don't know how to put this into perspective of how impressive that is. To be able to go from that kind of speed to exiting on that first exit is monumental. Like that's, holy crap, that thing's got some amazing brakes. And he's out, he's gone. And I'm just, I'll back out of the throttle and it's kind of, toning down, pop the helmet off, make the turn. And I plan on telling the guy, hey man, good run. This dude was pissed. He's checked out, he's gone. He goes, doesn't pass anybody, doesn't go into the state, doesn't do anything, gets on the street and leaves. I thought that was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. And I'm just like, this is fun. I raced a Mustang. And I mean, that dude was mad as hell. Never saw that car ever again. I don't know. I guess the guy thought he got suckered or something. I don't know. But again, Car Wash, thank you so very much. That is his third super chat on the live stream. Thank you very much, Car Wash. I can put that down here. Thank you, my friend. Skids, hey B, will a Scat Pack beat a Hellcat at the track? Are there certain considerations for that to happen? Yeah, there's a lot. If the Scat Pack is track prepped on a drag pack with, a pretty solid tune to go along with it, and the Hellcat is on street tires or maybe just regular drag radials, I mean, the Hellcat's going to be gunning down the Scat Pack if there's a traction issue. I mean, yeah, I guess in that respect, but I mean, you're not comparing like for like. You're not comparing, like my car's first kill was a Hellcat. It wasn't because my car was so fast. It's because the Hellcat driver didn't know what he was doing. And didn't take the proper, didn't take the proper precautions, if you will, if you're running, like a standard drag radial. You have to drive the car. You can't just map the throttle and have fun. So, I mean, if you've got a fairly well it'd be like having Scavenger 1320s, 1320 going up against a stock Hellcat that hadn't been, that's not prepared for the track, or at least doesn't have a sticky enough tire. I mean, that 1320 is going to eat up a stock Hellcat because it's not in the same race. It's not in the same category, if that makes any sense. But like for like, no. Oh, Stuart, yeah, 285 upper and a tune. That's one of the most fun combinations on a Hellcat when it's modified. Down here at sea level, those things scream. Skid saying, so true, get after them Stangs. Eric saying, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Oh, bro, I was talking stock for stock, not tuned. 11.7 Hellcat, stock 12.3, stock 392 at the track. Yeah, I mean, Stock for stock, no. You would hope it wouldn't. But again, you're assuming that the driver of the Hellcat knows what they're doing. And that is less and less the case in my experience. So, I mean, if the Hellcat driver knows what he's doing, you know, you can put together a pretty interesting race. But no, at some point, the Hellcat is going to start to reel that 392 in. And once that process starts, it doesn't stop. So, you know, but again, we're talking racing. If we're talking flat numbers, obviously not. But in a race scenario, lots of variables, things happen. Skid saying, I love them all. I'm guilty of owning Camaros, Stangs, Challengers. If it's fun to drive, I'll buy it. I'm the same way. I don't really have I don't know. I like all of them for varying reasons. Eric saying, Brent, good evening. Hello. So you're saying a stock Scat doesn't run low 11s. No, it doesn't. At least not stock as it comes from the factory. No, you start pulling a lot of weight out of the car. It won't run a low 11. Well, it depends on how much weight you pull out of it. But yeah, stock as it's delivered, no, it would never run numbers that deep. You've got to get in and start, you know, it's a tuning process. It's getting the right tire on the car. That's the big part with these things, is putting the right tire on the car, because where the Mopar puts in the most work is in that 60 foot. That's where Mustangs and Camaros, they just couldn't compete with the Mopars, is in that 60 foot hit. Brent, thank you very much. Do you think Racer X will hit 890 or sell his 170 before he can do it? And saying, I live in Michigan, most time the air sucks and we are not at sea level. No, for sure. I think you guys are at what, 500 feet, 800 feet? And yeah, you don't have the best air. But Michigan's like the worst of both worlds, because you get cold air, but it's super wet. You get hot air because it just gets as hot as Texas in Michigan. And you're at elevation. So it's humid and at elevation. You guys are getting stung. But do I think Racer X will hit an 890 or sell his 170 before he can do it? Our boy is going to have to put in a lot of time and work to get that thing to legit run an 890. I don't know, man. If I'm a betting man, which we haven't really talked about it. The 890, let me tell you this. The guys that have run 890 with a Demon 170 have done so by pulling a ton of weight out of them. I know the guys that have done it, and I know what they've done to do it. And mum's the word, but they're not as delivered. Just know that coming into the convo. I don't want it to sound like it's, it is what it is. Nobody that I'm aware of has run a legit 890 anything with that car with an as delivered vehicle. And that's what Ray and I had done with the OG Demon, was get as close to that 965 as possible with a normal size human male driving it in as delivered condition with the stock NT05s with the crate front wheels on it, but without the passenger seat, because the car could be optioned without a passenger seat. So it had the rear seat delete from the factory, yes, but we also pulled the front seat because you could, but we kept the stock driver's seat. That's an agreed to value. And in that respect, the car went a 978. And that's a legit number with legit Sunoco GT 260 in the tank. So to be able to do the same with the 170 would mean you're going to be running like a 9 flat, like 900. And I don't know that anybody is realistically going to be able to pull it. It's going to take rarefied air. It's going to take like some, Pine Hill type air. It's going to take it's going to be a pain in the ass. And I don't know. It pains me to say it. Guys have already started stripping those cars. That the as delivered record, I don't even know what it is because I don't have a girl working that corner, so I don't really pay a lot of attention to it. But like 920 or a 19, I'm sure has been covered. You know, I feel for the guys. I really do, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. I really do feel bad for some of those guys because what has happened, unfortunately, is that it's the same thing that happened with the OG Demon. And I'm reminded of one of the Legion of Demon events that I went to, where there were 138, what was it, 132, 130, a shitload of demons, okay? And the interesting thing about that is that there were guys there that were asking myself and a couple of other guys to drive for him because they could not get a 9-second pass out of their car. They didn't know how to stage. They didn't understand the way to do the burnout. They didn't understand really anything that they were doing. And I coached guys. I was like, look, I'll drive your car for you. I'll give you a 9-second time slip, but it's your car. Let me walk you through this. And I actually walked them through the burnout, walked them through staging, and got everybody a 9-second time slip in their own cars, mind you. So, you know, I'd already run my 9 in a Demon. I wasn't that worried about it. And I did it in not the greatest air. And then Ray ran the 9 in the Demon in like some funky ass air, and he ran a 999. So he was like, he finally ran the 9-second pass in his car, and then we started getting to work on it. And again, it was just making it the same weight as the 1-seat car, basically putting it in 1-seat configuration. But again, Brent, thank you so very much, man. I appreciate it. No, and do I think he's gonna that? I don't want to speak for the guy, but it ain't gonna run an 890. I'm sorry, not unless he can run that thing like on Christmas Day in Florida with some crazy deep DA, like just super, like in January, early February with some real low temps, some crazy track prep. That's the only way that thing is going to cover that kind of a number. It's the reality of it. He'll probably cover a 908 or a 912, but I think that'll be the most you'll see out of that car, unfortunately. You know, and it's just one of those things that we just haven't seen it. In fact, that car is having a hard time running 920s. Like legit. Like in legit, like regular normal people air, it's having a hard time running 920, 940, right? So if a car like that is having a hard time covering 940s, a number that in fairly decent air, a Bravo package Hellcat will cover, just saying, same level of setup, it's not that far removed because they're making the same power. And this is, I guess, there's something else to be said for this, guys. You got to remember, in the aftermarket, we've been at, you know, the 1,000 horsepower mark with Hellcats reliably on corn for years. I mean, look at Racer X, perfect example of it. Excessive. I was part of the build on that, and yeah, car was legit in clean air in 940, but it would run 950s and 960s all day long, and it was consistent as the day is long. That's where the interchiller actually does help, is it helps with consistency, especially when you're running in hotter temps. But seriously, I mean, look at what we were already doing with these cars. So a much bigger supercharger with a pulley, by the way. It's got a 3.0 pulley on a 3-liter supercharger. it's making a ton of boost and it's on corn. Yeah, you kind of expect it to run 920, 910 is like if Dodge would have said, look, we've got this car and it runs a 918, 9.18 is what we ran. I'd be like, all day, every day. And if somebody goes quicker than that, okay, well then so be it. But to advertise it as an 890 anything, do you realize what it took to run that number? I mean, that's one of these situations where it took bananas air, like just crazy just under the mine shaft air, and track prep that can only be described as epic level track prep. And everything that it took to make that car run a number had to come into play. And did the car run the number? Yeah, it did. But it didn't run it every day. It ran it once, as far as we know. There's no video of that car. There's no documentary of that car. The same way, by the way, there was no documentary of Leah Pruitt doing the same thing with the Demon, the OG Demon. And that was one of our biggest headaches, was we don't have minus 3,000 foot dry air to run in. You're doing good to get minus 1,000 and the grains might be high by the time the DA drops that low. We used to wait for okay, here's the difference. And you want to talk about drag racing. I would run the same number at 0 DA versus minus 1,000 DA based specifically upon water grains. So if I caught 0 at noon, 0 DA at noon versus minus 1,000 feet at like 9 o'clock at night, because the humidity would go through the roof at night, the car would not get any faster. You would have to wait for the DA to drop like super low before the DA would actually outweigh the water grains that were in the air. Something a lot of folks don't realize is that the fastest time that you can run will be in the middle of the day when you've got good track temperature on a very cold, very dry air day. And this is why Jim and I going back and forth was great, because he doesn't have the elevation that I do, but he's got all the dry air. I've got the heavier air down here. It's laced with a bunch of water. So it's why it was such a neat back and forth between the two of us. But there's a huge difference there. Brent's saying, need to get the PCM unlocked. That part sucks. It does kind of suck. Oh, Skids. Yeah, he did use gearheads in DFW. And I know that Demonology was using Bailey's, but I cannot remember. I thought it was B that was out in the Tampa area, and I can't remember. Cannot remember. Eric saying, thank you, Lime. Absolutely. Stellantis probably just wanted Fiat, then to heck with the rest. Pretty much. That's what it feels like anyway. What it feels like indeed. Hang on a second, guys. I'm having a feed problem here. Hold, please. Hold, please. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. We end up forgetting so many of the cars that have come before us, and it ends up being, just what could the car run? We don't know. Hang on. All right, saying, B, you're the only channel who has given me gifts for my contributions. Still have the shirts and drag pack. Oh, cool. Or the rag pack. Nice. Hard Rock, there's always some trash talking stooge out here, especially online. Oh, I'm one of the worst sometimes. Skids saying, great live tonight. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bless. Oh, we'll see you, Skids. Have a good one. Thank you for stopping by, my friend. Brent saying, have a good night. Eric's checking out. Brent, thank you, friend. Oh, Harder saying there are many variables to what a car runs: driver skills, DA, tires, surface conditions. So when someone tells me what a car run, I always say, okay. Well, I mean, that's the thing. There's a bazillion different factors to everything when it comes to racing. Um, so you're saying GT500 is a beautiful car, but I rarely, if ever, see them at the drag strip, which is a real shame because the GT500 is actually a pretty legit car at the drag strip, but not many of them, and you never would see them at the drag strip. The funny thing is the first one out in the wild that ran the 1060, that ran it in Dallas, I was on the phone with a buddy of mine and I heard that car go down the track when it went at 1060, which was pretty cool. I thought that was neat. Not that I was there for the trip, but still thought it was pretty neat that I was able to hear it. Oh, Brent, thanks again. Yeah, it said also it won't go over 200 miles an hour, like they said. Yeah, no, it won't. Not with those tires. It won't. Last thing you want to do is try to stretch those tires out for that kind of speed, at least over an extended amount of time. Bad, bad, bad idea. God, I still can't believe they were talking about that. It's like, why would you even? It's, this is what happens when you let people that don't know what they're doing loose with a company. It's like, no, you don't talk about top speed for a car like that. That's it. Okay. We're talking about that, right? What about this? What about the fact that they're talking about top speed with the Charger and the EV cars? Has a top speed of 130, whatever it is, miles per hour. Really? Okay. I'll be the judge of that. That's an invitation to try to do that, I guess. Not a good thing. Brent saying, you're welcome. Love talking Mopar. Me too. I love it when we can talk Mopar. Hard Rock is out saying, catch you Saturday. Absolutely. And that's the most important thing. It's having the opportunity to talk about Mopar in a positive light, and to talk about Mopar in a positive light that's anchored in a level of reality that I think that we can all agree to, which is, we're buying these cars because they're fun. They have an image about them. They have kind of a history now about them. And you're having fun with these vehicles. I'm afraid that a lot of the fun factor is gone now. And that is one of the things that bugs me the most. And, I've said this a lot of times, and I don't mind repeating it. In fact, my wife and I, Smoking Hot, we were going to dinner the other night. We were in the F-150. We were talking about the truck. She loves the F-150. And I said, it's weird. I'm having more fun with the truck than I did with the Hellcat. And she goes, that didn't make any sense. And I said, no, it does. If you think about what I can do with the truck that I wasn't able to do with the Hellcat on the street. I wasn't able to play with the Hellcat on the street like I wanted to. I'd end up doing 150 plus miles an hour with it by the time it was all said and done. And it'll do it, and it does it happily, and it's incredibly stable, and it's everything you could you can gush all you like about that car, and it's warranted. It deserves it. But the thing that I guess upset me the most about the Hellcat was that it got to a certain point that I felt like I wasn't having fun anymore with it. And the truck, I can just watt the thing whenever I want, put it in 4-wheel drive, and it's fun. That's where the new Charger is going to have, that's the trump card. That's the joker. Because all-wheel drive, 540 horsepower, provided the engine holds together, you can enjoy that car all the time. And that's something that's like that's the dark horse in, not to get into Mustangs, but that's the dark horse quality that people are forgetting about that new Charger. Say what you will about the looks, it looks like ass. It purely does. But if it does anything well, that's the one thing that it'll do well, is that you can use every ounce of power that you have with that thing. And that's why I am sort of interested in it, but I'm not interested in enough to get rid of my truck. And I've just got to remember, if I ever get miffed, the Coyote is just, it's a Roush blower and a warranty away from making 700 horsepower. Domino, son. I don't even know what to say when it comes to there's always a cheat code when it comes to the Coyote, unfortunately. Eric's saying the biggest thing for any car to produce more horsepower is a good tune, but you want to go further, then you have to upgrade and modify the power. Well, you're right about that, Eric. And the thing is that once you get past the tune with a modern vehicle, you're not even safe with even some of the more some of the tunes that you might think are safe. Modern cars tunes are actually, some of them are really good. Like really good. The Coyote is really good. The new, what would have been the Ram Hemi stock tune, the DT Ram tune is actually really good. But it can be very well much improved upon. But the Ford tuning, I'm sorry, but I try as I might. I really can't. I can put together a 93 octane tune. I can put together an E85 tune, like legit dedicated tune, and it will make, yes, more power. But it's already really good, and I can put whatever gas I want in it. I know that there's some guys that are saying, well, I can put together a tune and it works fine with every fuel quality and it auto adjusts and all that. Yeah, me too, but I also don't want the thing to be pulling, 8 degrees of timing or 9 degrees of timing all the time. It's just, there's ways to do it, and I get it, and I can do that, but I just don't like hanging vehicles on knock sensors. I prefer not to. Hard Rock said, I think my Scat's winking at me. It might. Stuart's asking, is a Coyote the best engine for modding? Depends. If you're talking about naturally aspirated, no. Stay away from it for NA application. If you're talking about it for boost, yes. So a hard no for naturally aspirated, a hard yes for boost. LS, on the other hand, or LT, LT, really good for naturally aspirated. Like really, really good. Really good with nitrous. And then boost is boost. It's an LT, LS platform. It's going to respond nicely to boost. You don't have to worry too much about them with that. Ring pack is good on the piston, so not a lot to worry about there. Regular LS2 would be my first pick of the bigger bore LSs, followed by a 5.3 and then the LS3, mainly because the LS3 has got a little bit more displacement, which is great. They're an awesome engine, naturally aspirated, but when you start throwing boost at them, they can get a little bit fragile-ish. But that doesn't happen until bigger numbers. But those would be my, like, between the two. Like, if you're asking about the Coyote, yeah, it's super awesome. But if you were to do an NA build, it's just put long tubes on it, a tune, intake to taste, if you will, and send it out into the world. But if you want to build a boost combination, my gosh, it is real hard to beat a Coyote. Look at the truck guys. The guys that are racing trucks will be the first ones to tell you, look, you start off really fast with LS, and then you move over to Coyote, and automatically you're up like 2 to 3 tenths. when you move over to Coyote. It's just once you start getting fast, like legit fast, like mid nines, low nines, high eights, mid eights, that's where the faster you want to go, the more it'll start to favor the Coyote. But if you're looking to build like a 10 flat truck or a 10 flat car, it's like if you wanted to do that with a Mustang, it's just Mustang plus blower, requisite tune, drive shaft, maybe long tubes if you want to go that far with it. And it's a 10.0 car, and it does it forever and ever and ever. And it still retains its ability to roll race. Eric's hanging out with Skid, saying, take care, adios. Dan's asking, how do you feel about the Hellcat lower box on a Scat pack? I love it, and I think that it should come with that. Hard Rock saying, resurrection of Foxy, yay. I just drove Foxy this past weekend. God, dude. And friendlies have been swarming lately. I thought I was absolutely going to... Already had an accidental high-speed chase. Sorry. I got so lucky that the Leos that pulled me over were super cool about it. They could have absolutely ruined my day. But anyway, yeah, no, I was out playing around in Foxy and doing some bandit stuff with it. And anyway, that's what it's there for, right? Oh, Eric's saying, yeah, the Coyote is real strong. Oh, Max asking, why no on the Coyote for NA? Couple of reasons. It's already really good. So let's say you were to put a tune and long tube, say you're talking about a Mustang or a truck, either way, you're good. A tune, long tubes, and for the truck, maybe... not a Boss, but like a GT350 intake. And a GT350 intake for the 5.0. Totally fine. I don't really consider that a build. That's just your... It's like you're blueprinting the combination, if you will. You're just giving it everything that it needs to work properly. Do all of that with a tune. And again, with the long tubes... You don't really have to worry about oil pump gears at that point. And if you've got a 4th gen truck, then you really don't have to worry about it because the oil pump and that thing's like built for a Sherman tank, belt-driven deal. But that's all you really need to do. In other words, going in there with bigger camshafts, you're not really going to get to the promised land with that. You're going to spend, it's the Scat Pack versus Hellcat thing at this point, because you're going to spend an amount of money on this on this NA build, and you're going to get it to a point where if you would have just put a blower on the car, you'd be a full second faster. Well, not a full second. You would be at least half a second faster and about probably 7 miles an hour faster on the back end of this thing. So... I don't, it has a lot more to do with the amount of money and the amount of time. It's better to just do the minor stuff. Again, intake, just a bolt-on thing. Intake manifold, just a bolt-on thing. Have it tuned properly for those mods along with long tube headers. Have a combination that's not going to spin past, say, 7,500 RPM, and then let it rip. That's all you need. Weight reduction will put you in the 10s, and... what's not to love about that? A nice little cat back, maybe some axles or something like that. If you're running very consistently with at the track, then yeah, go ahead and do those things. But that's all you really need to do. And then you can have a very fun car, and it does that. But the guys that run Coyote, they'll even tell you, look, it's already 12-1. It's already got hella good heads. The cams are actually really good in it from the factory from a lift and duration point of view. There's not a lot to do that's not going to break the bank, basically, to really start extracting big power out of those motors. It's already all there. Throw some boost at it. because it's so efficient as an NA engine already from the factory that the boost, they run great with boost because they're already crazy efficient. And the more efficient your NA engine is, the more efficient your boosted engine will be. But that's the main reason why. It's just a dollars and cents thing. I would hate to see somebody going through the headache of trying to put this NA Coyote build together, and because then you're going to start getting way into the weeds, just like it happens. It's okay to say it out loud. It's just reality. You're going to get way off into the weeds with that build when it starts coming to weight reduction. And you're going to start, I mean, these guys go bananas crazy when you start talking the NA stuff when it comes to weight reduction. Those things, you can play catch with those cars out in the pit area. I mean, they just weigh nothing by the time they're all said and done. So in an effort to still have an automobile at the end of the day, that's plus, I mean, again, long tubes, not cheap. Tuning, not cheap. Everything about the build on that car is going to be, it's going to cost money. And again, by the time you get done, you can put a blower on it. And even with swapping out oil pump gear, which is a train wreck of a job, I'd never want to do it myself. I've seen it done and it doesn't look fun. But even with that modification, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to be expensive, but I mean, dude, for the power that you end up getting out of it, it's well worth it. And even with all the nannies in play, it's still a low 10-second car that will get phenomenal fuel economy numbers and will still be able to rip on the highway. Sovereign is in. What's up, man? Sort of saying, I guess you would need a 351 or bigger for a good Ford NA build, or the Godzilla. If you were to do like a Windsor build, yeah, you would probably, well, I don't know, because look at like the Boss block, okay? You can run either 363, which is the big bore with a 3.5-inch stroke. You can run a standard bore with a 3.5-inch stroke and get a 347, or a standard bore but 30 over with a 3.25 stroke, and that gives you 331. All very good combinations. I've got a 351 in Foxy, and it's a low compression F cam with a GT40 intake manifold on it. I mean, it's not a horsepower making thing. It's torquey, but that's about the best you can really give it. Or the Godzilla. Yeah, and the cool thing about the Godzilla is Ford makes an intake manifold that'll make it work as a swap into a Mustang, which is kind of cool thing that Ford does. Ford actually supports their racers. Max saying, roger that. Yes, sir. Brent saying, what about a boosted 6.1? Been around a lot of them. Boosted 6.1s are a lot of fun. A 6.1 with a Pro Charger is a fun car. The reason why is because the 6.1 has a tight lobe separation angle on the cam, and that makes it real happy with a Pro Charger, because it still makes good mid-range with the tighter LSA. Same for the 5.7, by the way. Again, fun car, and I've driven several of them, and I like the Pro Charge variant of that car. Again, it's fun, not crazy. When I say it's not crazy horsepower, remember that I'm talking about it's got streetable power, usable power. We're talking 500 on a Mustang dyno, not on a dyno jet, but 500 horsepower to the rear wheel on a Mustang dyno, so maybe 540 on a dyno jet. Fun car. And again, I mean, listen, guys, I can make a pretty strong case that an SRT8 with a Pro Charger, NAG1, stock 309 gear, limited slip diff, that combination for the street is one of the most fun combinations you can have. And the reason for that You get an engine that makes great mid-range power with a supercharger to carry it out up on the top end. The Nag 1, that's the same transmission that was in, E55 AMGs that were making 700 horsepower. They'll hold that amount of power. But they make more power than any of the NA combinations. And I am on record as saying that the Nag 1 trans tuning is what got me. So when I had my Lightning, I was the king of transmission tuning for the Lightning. And I had a tune for the Lightning that was superb in terms of a 6-pound pulley Lightning. I mean, my torque converter lock unlock table was awesome. I mean, it felt like you're riding around in a truck with an 8-speed. It was really, really good. The Nag 1, the first time I drove the Candy Stripe car, which was a Signature Series red or white with red stripe car, when I drove that with the Nag 1, I thought, damn, the car feels like it had a trans tune on it. But anyway, long story short, they'll handle some pretty decent power, but just if you're conservative with what you're going for, you can have a very fun car and not have something that's going to get away from you the way that a Hellcat can get away from you, so to speak. And with that, guys, we are just over 2 hours. We haven't had a 2-hour show in a long time. Man, I appreciate all you guys for hanging out with me. Love each and every one of y'all. Pitch Black, Car Wash, Limestein, and Brent. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate the contributions to the cause. I really, truly do. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Guys, listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, y'all have a great one. We'll catch y'all on the next one. That's a wrap. Adios, guys.